T don't stop. She don't miss nothing, got the scoop on lock. Spilling all. Hey guys, let's get into this video. This is going to be explosive now. We got to get into it, y'all. Let's quickly dive in. Now, before I get into the video, make sure you guys are following me over there on Twitch. If you are not familiar with Twitch, you just need to go to your Apple store. If you haven't already downloaded the app and follow me on the Twitch app, I am trying to get to 1,000 subs over there. Please go over there and follow me. Also, my handle on Twitch is at Lakeysha Keysha, at Lakeysha Keysha on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. Y'all, we got to get into this video, and we're going to get into it relatively quickly. And we're going to do a live later because there's so much in here that I failed to talk about after going through these pages. Can y'all believe that Porsha is requesting that Simon gets insurance, an insurance policy in the sum total amount of $560,000. Now, let me break that down for y'all, okay? So the $560,000 would amount to 14 months of $40,000 per month. Now, if you guys recall, in the actual prenuptial agreement that they both agreed, they agreed that Simon would pay that amount, right? So what Porsha's attorney is proposing is that, listen, you need to get life insurance policy because if you don't pay this money, she needs to be able to get it if you shall somehow come up gone or whatever, honey. I said, this is crazy. So let me kind of quickly share my screen. We're not going to read this word for word. I done read it, but we're definitely going to get into it a little bit later. So let's kind of get into some of this because this was kind of crazy. I said, what? Listen to this. Within 60 days of the date of marriage, husband shall make wife the beneficiary of encumbered and unassigned life insurance policy sufficient to ensure and satisfy the payments that are paid by husband to wife, okay? Husband failed to comply with this obligation. As such, the proposed order simply acknowledges that failure by requiring him to now perform what he agreed to do at the time of execution. Now, listen, why did Simon agree to doing some shit like this? Now, sir, if you signed documentation agreeing to this and you thought or you realize now that you were being used, it's all in the documentation. What this says is that this proposed language tracks the contingent structure in the prenuptial agreement. The amount of the required life insurance coverage corresponds to husband's alimony obligations of 14 months of $40,000. So essentially, what they're saying is, listen, we are not asking you to do anything that you had not already agreed to. So essentially, they're like, listen, we're going to put this in a proposed order. So let's kind of get into it because I tried to unpack this yesterday. And again, we're going to have to jump on live because as I read through these 19 pages, baby, it is explosive. But what I'm going to do is let me kind of give you guys a quick not a recap, but let me give you guys a quick maybe a 30-minute video in just what I found in this actual order. Okay. So here's the deal. And I should probably rephrase this. This is not an order. This is, how can I explain? If you guys recall, when I went to court, the judge is basically giving Porsha's attorney the responsibility of creating the order. What Simon's attorney was asking was, please don't put salacious stuff in the order because it's only going to cause a problem. Guess what? It looks like they have put a lot of salacious stuff in this order that the parties have not agreed. When I say the parties, I'm talking about Simon and his attorney. So let's just start with the introduction. Yesterday, I told you all that Porsha's attorney is simply saying that Simon is trying to delay the proceedings to evade accountability. And this is pretty much what they're saying. This is what he does. He's always trying to delay the inevitable. But what it seems like is happening as I read through this order is that Porsha's attorney is putting direct verbiage in this order, which could very well be a problem for Simon when he goes to appeal this case. If y'all recall, I said yesterday, I said, I've never heard of somebody rejecting an order. And I said, well, maybe Simon is rejecting the order because he wants to preserve his right to appeal. And as I read through this, this is exactly what is happening. In this motion that was submitted, what they are saying is that Simon is basically objecting to specific language in this order. However, what they're saying is that Simon is not articulating or specifying what is incorrect in the order, but he is simply rejecting it. And it says right here, I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that you can actually see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so right here it says, husband filed a broad objection without offering any substantive edit. So he's not telling them what needs to be edited. But what they're saying is they have did this, revised it multiple times, but they feel as though Simon is objecting it because he is trying to preserve his appellate arguments. So what they're pretty much saying is Simon is not trying to fix this. He is not trying to tell us what is wrong with this order because Simon wants to appeal this. This is what Porsha's attorney is saying. And in all honesty, as I look at this order, there is a lot of, I don't know if I want to refer it as a order, but more so a motion to produce the order. So what Simon is saying is there's a bunch of language in there that could cause a problem for him once he goes to try to appeal this. And let's get into specifics because what you guys will learn in this motion that was filed is Simon is rejecting and not wanting specific language in there. But what Porsha's attorney is saying is, tell us what language we should put in here. But in all honesty, as I read this, it does seem very salacious. It does seem very one-sided because one of the things that Porsha's attorney wants to get entered into the order is that Porsha was a reality star and she was a reality star continuing up and through possibly their marriage, and that she was in negotiations with the network and trying to allude that Simon knew about it. Now, let me kind of let y'all know why that will be a problem. Because one of Simon's basis for filing or objecting to the prenuptial agreement was, listen, I agreed to pay her. Yes, I did. But she also agreed not to work. So can y'all understand how that will be a problem if it's entered into the order that Simon actually knew that Porsha was working? He agreed to her working. So Simon's objections is, to me, legitimate. But what Porsha's attorney is saying is, Simon, you're objecting to stuff that is just not legitimate because, Simon, you don't want this to move forward. And what you want to do is you want to delay the process. But as I read this, and because I was in court, it does very much seem very much one-sided because once a lot of this information is entered into the order, it could most definitely cause issues for Simon's appeal. So he is objecting, the specifics. And again, this happened in court. with Simon's attorney, basically saying, listen, I don't want to go back and forth with Randy about this order. We want this to be fair. But it looks like Randy is trying to enter things into the order that could potentially become a problem for Simon. Okay. So that's going to be a huge problem. Okay. That's going to be a huge problem for him in terms of appealing if these things are entered into the order. Okay. So just want to kind of go over that. So there is a bunch of different things, and I'm going to read to you guys something else, which is specific to what Simon has pretty much been saying this entire time. So let me kind of share my screen. Okay. Now, if we jump down to number 7, it says husband's objection to the finding that the court finds that neither wife's continued involvement and employment as a reality television personality and social media influencer, nor husband's immigration status and related circumstances, including husband's arguments that his detention drastically impacted his business operations, constitute change facts or circumstances sufficient to render enforcement of the prenuptial agreement under unfair and unreasonable. Okay, so let's kind of get into that. If you guys recall, in the court hearing, one of the things that Simon objected to is, listen, I've been in ICE custody. My circumstances has changed. Well, we know at the end that the judge said, well, I don't buy it. But those were one of his merits. Listen, my circumstances changed. Okay. He also said, listen, I agreed to get this lady some money. I agreed to help her, but she also agreed not to work. Okay. So what Porsha's attorney is saying, listen, that is not, we didn't, the court, Porsha's attorney is saying the court didn't see that as unreasonable, and he wants to enter this into the order. Simon is like, no, I object. So a lot of this stuff that Randy is trying to enter into the order could be a problem for Simon's appeal. So I can understand why he would object to that. And guys, unfortunately, I don't know how they used to do it back in the days, but now the judges are letting the attorneys work out the order. And this is causing a problem, is what we're learning. Okay. So what Porsha's attorney specifically said, I'm just going to read it. Respondent's objection to the finding that while husband contends that wife never disclosed to the husband her plans to regain employment where she would earn multi-millions, or that she had plans to return to the Real Housewives of Atlanta reality TV show, such allegations do not amount to the level of non-disclosure necessary to invalidate the prenuptial agreement. Is pretty much what he wants to enter into the order. Now, because I don't want to make this video too long, I want to jump down to something that I thought was very important that you guys may want to know about. Otherwise, you just have to join the live later on, which is going to be a long one because we're just going to go through all 19 pages. So one of the things that I thought was pretty crazy in this entire order, let me just make sure I'm on the right page. Okay. And then I'm going to close with this. Imagine getting married. Okay. Now we know they had the prenuptial agreement, which was, in all honesty, protection for Porsha, because Simon really didn't get anything out of this in terms of anything financial that he would get from Porsha. Now, in this order, I'm looking at page 10 of 19. Okay. Simon objected to what? Now they're trying to put this in order. And what it says is that Simon pretty much needs to get life insurance. If he don't already have it, he needs to get it, and he needs to put Porsha's name on there for the amount of $560,000. $40,000. Now, how would that work? Let's say Simon paid the mortgage and he suddenly passed away. Well, Porsha would get another $560,000, or like, how would they figure that out? Because if he puts her on a policy, she's going to collect a double payment. But I understand what Porsha's attorney is saying. Listen, Simon, you agreed to this before you married her. I'm just trying to understand, why would Simon agree to these type of terms? These type of terms. This does not seem like love. This seems like exactly what he described in his interview to page 6, because it simply says in this motion, husband failed to comply with his obligations as such. The proposed order simply acknowledges that failure by requiring him to now perform what he agreed to do at the time of the execution. Okay. So what they're saying is this particular order that is being drafted, this is summarizing what was already said in the prenuptial agreement. But I would imagine now maybe it's a problem because people are saying that Simon just isn't going to pay. And I'm just like, this is too much. I mean, this is too much. He agreed to pay her $40,000 a month for 14 months. And Porsha's attorney is like, look, you agreed to this already. So since you agreed to it already and you probably won't pay, what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the motion, because we're going to put it in the order, the final divorce decree. Y'all got to let me know what y'all think about this. I am reading through this. Like I said, I'm on page 10 of 19. We're going to do a live. I'm making notes on the order because it is so much. And I was like, what in the heck is really going on? Keep in mind, Simon is trying to reserve his appellate rights, and maybe, by making all of these objections is part of the process, because what he's doing is he's objecting. And I actually had to go and look this up online. So I'm like, what the hell do that mean, to object? Okay. So let me kind of tell y'all what it means. I had to go and search it. It says, in legal terms, an objection to a court order means a formal protest raised by a party or counsel in a legal proceeding that challenges the validity, appropriateness, or legality of a ruling or order made by a judge, which makes sense, because I guess if you're raising objection to the judge and then you file your appeal, you can say, hey, I had this same issue with the judge. I raised these issues. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how that goes. But when I saw the objection, I'm like, how do you object to a court order? I thought that you would just go ahead and appeal it. But I learned that you actually can object to a court order. And it seems like from everything that I'm reading with regards to, this divorce, that Simon is objecting, Nate, as left and right. He don't agree with this. He don't agree with that. And this, that, and that, and this. And it's going in circles. And Porsha's attorney is like, bruh, if you object, tell us what you object to. Give us the language. And in all honesty, though, it seems like, Porsha's attorney, he works for Porsha. It seems like he's really trying to muddy the waters and not be real honest as to what actually happened in court, because it seems like he's trying to put a lot of things in there that really don't matter. But it seems like it would matter if he put it in, because it would cause problems for Simon in terms of his appeal. Because as we learned that he will be appealing this in the future. So y'all let me know what y'all think. And again, if you want me to break this down, which I will be doing later, make sure you join my live, which will be later on this evening. Okay.
She don't miss nothing, got the stuff. Spilling all the tea while it's still too hot. Lakeysha Keysha, queen of the plot. Hit that bell, cause the tea don't stop.